Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasodanana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodanana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasodanana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodanana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhangsa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shiman. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Smaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hariva Slava Zarani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Ishi Gauranga. Oma Gyana Tavanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayam Tadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Dagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchina Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapa Trivyascha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patiranam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3. Lord Krishna is the source of incarnations. Text number 23. Ekonavishe vimsatati me Rishnishu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharad varam Eko na vimshe vimshatinam tatime Vrishnishu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharad varam Ekona vimshe vishati me Vishnu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharad varam Ekona vimshe vimshati me Vishnu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharad varam Ekona vimshite vishate Vishnu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharad varam. Ladies. Ekona vimshite vishantine Vishnu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharad varam. Ekona vimshe. In the 19th, Vimshatime. In the 20th also, Vrishnishu. In the Vrishni dynasty, Prapya, having obtained, Janmani, birth, Rama, Balaram, Krishna, Shri Krishna, Iti, Thus, Bhuvaha, of the world, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Aharat, removed, Bharam, burden. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the 19th and 20th incarnations, the Lord advented Himself as Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty, and by doing so, He removed the burden of the world. Purport. The specific mention of the word Bhagavan in this text indicates that Balaram and Krishna are original forms of the Lord. This will be further explained later. Lord Krishna is not an incarnation of the Purusha, as we learned from the beginning of this chapter. He is directly the original personality of Godhead, and Balaram is the first plenary manifestation of the Lord. From Baladev, the first phalanx of plenary expansions, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradumya expands. Lord Shri Krishna is Vasudev, and Balaram is Sankarshan. Text 24. Tata kalo pravrite sammohaya suradvisham buddho nam nanjanat sutaha kitakshe bhavishiti. Translation. Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theists. Purport. Lord Buddha, powerful incarnation of the personality of Godhead, appeared in the province of Gaya, Bihar, as the son of Anjana, and he preached his own conception of nonviolence and deprecated even the animal sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. At the time when Lord Buddha appeared, people in general were atheistic and preferred animal flesh to anything else. On the plate of the Vedic sacrifice, every place was practically turned into a slaughterhouse, and animal killing was indulged in unrestrictedly. Lord Buddha preached nonviolence, taking pity on the poor animals. He preached that he did not believe in the tenets of the Vedas and stressed the adverse psychological effects incurred by animal killing. Less intelligent men of the age of Kali, who had no faith in God, followed this principle, and for the time being they were trained in moral discipline and nonviolence. The preliminary steps for proceeding further on the path of God realization. He deluded the atheists, because such atheists who followed his principles did not believe in God, but they kept their absolute faith in Lord Buddha, who himself was the incarnation of God. Thus the faithless people were made to believe in God in the form of Lord Buddha. This was the mercy of Lord Buddha. He made the faithless faithful to him. Killing of animals before the advent of Lord Buddha was the most prominent feature of the society. People claimed that these were Vedic sacrifices. When the Vedas were not accepted through the authoritative disciple succession, the casual readers of the Vedas are misled by the flowery language of that systems of knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita, a comment has been made on such foolish scholars, avipashchitaha. The foolish scholar of the Vedic literature, scholars of the Vedic literature, who do not care to receive the transcendental message through the transcendental realized sources of disciple succession, are sure to be bewildered. To them, the ritualistic ceremonies are considered to be all in all. They have no depth of knowledge. According to Bhagavad Gita, 15:15. Vedaischa sarvarham eva vedyo. The whole system of the Vedas is to lead one gradually to the path of the Supreme Lord. The whole theme of Vedic literature is to know the Supreme Lord, the individual soul, the cosmic situation, and the relationship between all these items. When the relation is known, the relative function begins. And as a result of such function, the ultimate goal of life, or going back to Godhead, takes place in the easiest manner. Unfortunately, unauthorized scholars of the Vedas become captivated by the purificatory ceremonies only, and natural progress is thereby checked. To such bewildered persons of atheistic propensity, Lord Buddha is the emblem of theism. He therefore first of all wanted to check the habit of animal killing. The animal killers are dangerous elements on the path of going back to Godhead. There are two types of animal killers. The soul is also sometimes called the animal or the living being. Therefore, the slaughter of animals and those who have lost their identity of soul, are animal killers. Maharaj Parikshit said that not only the animal killer cannot relish the transcendental message of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Parikshit said that only the animal killer cannot relish the transcendental message of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, if people are to be educated to the path of Godhead, they must be taught first and foremost to stop the process of animal killing as above mentioned. It is nonsensical to say that animal killing has nothing to do with spiritual realization. By this dangerous theory, many so-called sannyasis have sprung up by the grace of Kali Yuga who preach animal killing under the garb of the Vedas. The subject matter has already been discussed in the conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Maulana Chankazi Sahib. The animal sacrifice, as stated in the Vedas, is different from the unrestricted animal killing in the slaughterhouse, because the asuras, or the so-called scholars of Vedic literatures, put forward the evidence of animal killing in the Vedas. Lord Buddha superficially denied the authority of the Vedas. This rejection of the Vedas by Lord Buddha was adopted in order to save people from the vice of animal killing, as well as to save the poor animals from the slaughtering process of their big brothers, who clamor for universal brotherhood, peace, justice, and equity. There is no justice when there is animal killing. Lord Buddha wanted to stop it completely, and therefore his cult of ahimsa was propagated not only in India but also outside the country. Technically, Lord Buddha's philosophy is called atheistic because there is no acceptance of the Supreme Lord, and because that system of philosophy denied the authority of the Vedas. But that is an act of camouflage by the Lord. Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Godhead. As such, he is the original propounder of Vedic knowledge. He therefore cannot reject Vedic philosophy. But he rejected it outwardly because the Sura Dvisha, or the demons who are always envious of the devotees of Godhead, tried to support cow killing or animal killing from the pages of the Vedas. This is now being done by the modernized sannyasis. Lord Buddha had to reject the authority of the Vedas altogether. This is simply technical, and had it not been so, he would not have been accepted as the incarnation of Godhead, nor would he have been worshipped in the transcendental songs of poet Jayadev, who was a Vaishnava Acharya. Lord Buddha preached the preliminary principles of the Vedas in a manner suitable for the time being, and so did Sankaracharya, to establish the authority of the Vedas. Therefore, both Lord Buddha and Acharya Sankara paved the path of theism. And Vaishnavacharya, specifically Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, led the people on the path toward a realization of going back to Godhead. We are glad that people are taking interest in the nonviolent movement of Lord Buddha, but will they take the matter very seriously and close the animal slaughterhouses altogether? If not, there is no meaning to the Hinsa cult. Srimad Bhagavatam was composed just prior to the beginning of the age of Kali, about 5,000 years ago. And Lord Buddha appeared about 2,600 years ago. Therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Buddha is foretold. Such is the authority of this clear scripture. There are many such prophecies. They are being fulfilled one after another. They will indicate the positive standing of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is without a trace of mistake, illusion, cheating, and imperfections, which are the four flaws of the conditioned souls. The liberated souls are above these flaws, therefore they can see and foretell things which are to take place on distant future dates. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskyadyade Satarane. In the first verse that we read, we heard that Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago along with Lord Balaram. So, why did Buddha have to appear after Krishna? And then after Buddha, Sankaracharya, and then after Sankaracharya, of course, our acharyas such as Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and others appeared before the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Well, we understand when Krishna appeared with Balaram, most people on this planet had no idea who Krishna was. And those who knew about Krishna generally were his enemies. Krishna spent more time killing demons than he did dancing with the gopis. So people were not very elevated, although it was the end of Dwapara Yuga. Still, we find that the mass number of people were demons, or at least fought for the demons. Ending in the Kurukshetra war, where at least millions and millions of people were killed. And many of them got elevated because of Krishna's presence on the battlefield, but still were left after the Battle of Kurukshetra with more or less not a very happy world. I'm sure there were a lot of people left, because inconceivable how many people even in Dwapara Yuga, things were quite different than they are in Kali Yuga. Of course, because of the demons, so-called historical, the keeping of history, we have no idea actually what was going on. Only through the Vedas do we really have an idea. Only through Srimad Bhagavatam, in our case, do we have any idea what was going on historically in Dwapara Yuga. History is just a bunch of, modern history at least, is usually just a bunch of lies put together and given some authority. For instance, maybe not here in Slovenia, but if you go to a place like Paris, where these amazing buildings are there, sculpture, architecture, etc., etc. And they claim it was all created in the 1800s. Now the question was, if such amazing architecture was created in the 1800s with just a hammer and some chisels, And they only had horse and buggies to transport huge amounts of stone and other types of material. One piece of the stone was bigger than the horse. And the cathedrals were made, many of them were made for people who were probably around 3 or 4 meters high. The doors were there for people who were much bigger than ourselves. And with all our modern so-called technology, with cranes and other type of instruments like power drills and things, and digging mines and huge trucks, all we can do is make buildings out of boxes with no decorations. And we claim that all this architecture was made in the 1800s, where there are no roads, there's no transportation. And if someone points out that this architecture was actually from the previous yuga, people will laugh. You mean that the apes built it? But then who built it? We can't even hardly they can make a model of one of these buildings nowadays. And they claim it was built in a couple of years. They can't even do it now. They build a skyscraper, it doesn't last that long. It's just a bunch of boxes put on each other. So we can understand that even from the historical point of view, it's just a bunch of lies, that there was no civilization before this one. And not only that, but this architecture is found all over the world. Who built the American Capitol building? It was built in the 1800s. Who built it? So, similarly, this idea of Lord Buddha, nowadays, because people have no historical evidence, they don't even know who Buddha was. When I was in Thailand is a Buddhist nation. And even the king becomes a Buddhist sometimes during his lifetime. The king spends some time in the monasteries, etc. But hardly any of them are vegetarians. They don't even know who Buddha was. Of course, if you go to the temples in Thailand, many of them are dedicated to their conception of Lord Ramachandra also. Lord Ramachandra is very the Ramayan in Thailand is very popular. But they don't really understand. I mean, there's big temples there, and with all these sculptures and paintings of Lord the Ramayan in it. But, as I said, they don't know even what Buddhism, because they're not even vegetarians, most of them. There was one sect, a Buddhist, with 100 Buddhists in the sect, and they were vegetarians, out of the thousands and thousands of Buddhists who are non-vegetarians. But the non-vegetarian Buddhists declared that these Buddhists who are vegetarian are not bona fide and had them all arrested for being fake Buddhists. Luckily for the vegetarian Buddhists, they were pardoned by the king and let out of jail. So people have no idea why they claim they're Buddhists, but they don't know what the path of Buddhism is. They don't know why Buddha appeared, what his mission was. Generally, they're voidists. So we can understand that in modern society, the next step after materialism is voidism. Because materialism means to try to gratify the senses, which can never get gratified, so that leads to frustration. Vita raga vaya kroda manmaya mamupashita bhava jnana tapasa puttamadbhavam agata. Being freed from attachment, from fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love from me. So, material nature works as a natural sequence. These philosophies don't just appear out of nowhere. They appear because of the mentality that people have, which are created under the modes of nature. Therefore, when people have a certain combination, in general, have a certain combination of the modes of material nature, then the result is that certain philosophies develop. And when the philosophies develop, Krishna appears as different incarnations to help them elevate their consciousness to a higher level. So in the second canto, we find another incarnation of Buddha appearing. When the unidentified flying objects, the aliens, attack the earth, then Lord Buddha in that incarnation defeated the aliens. You didn't know about that? That's second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now the aliens don't come here because it's not worth the trip. There's nothing to do here. They get bored if they came here. Besides that, the aliens don't want to mix with human beings and get contaminated. So these things are repeatedly going on, millennium after millennium, yuga after yuga. The same incarnations come because more or less they have different functions, they do different activities, but more or less people develop the same mentality as the ages go from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga to Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, or in other ages it's Satya, Dwapara, Treta, and Kali. Because the modes of material nature change, and so therefore people's mentalities, their consciousness change, and therefore their philosophies change, and therefore Krishna comes, and similar incarnations in order to try to elevate people to a higher standard of consciousness. So now we find voidism is prominent, it's becoming prominent, but actually the most prominent philosophy is just materialism, sense gratification. People still have faith in sense gratification. But we can see it's diminishing. People are becoming more and more crazy, more and more in the mode of ignorance, and therefore even basically sense gratification, they're not even being interested in anymore, just normal sense gratification. Therefore every year they add another letter to the LQG, whatever it is. Does anyone know what the letters are? What's that? L, B, L, G, Lesbian, what's the next one? Gay. What's it? Gay. Bisexual. Transgender. That means two genders. What is it? Oh, transgender. Okay. And then unusual. And then there's other letters they've added on lately too. What's that? Plus. 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 So that means people are going into darker and darker regions of existence. Of course, most people are not really within those categories, but the people who are leading society to hell, the outright demons, they themselves want people to become degraded because it's easier to control people who are degraded. Therefore, Lord Buddha came at a certain point in order to introduce voidism, but based upon giving up animal slaughter, because it's animal slaughter that runs people into the darkest regions of existence. If people are not killing animals, especially the cow, then it's not likely they're going to degrade themselves so low. But as I pointed out, by animal slaughter, especially the cow slaughter and bull slaughter, this whole system of economics gets degraded. The whole industrial society is based upon the fact that without the cow and the bull to plow the land and to give fertilizer, they have to create tractors and other kinds of machines to create the tractors and all kinds of energy in order to run the tractors. So much, and then the factories to take the food that's produced artificially, well, with insecticides, herbicides, and people-sides, so many different things in order, as chemicals, pollute the earth, destroys people's consciousness, their health and their consciousness, pollutes the air, pollutes the water, and distracts people from the purpose of life. And ultimately degrades them, especially when you eat your mother and your father. It's not a very advanced state of consciousness. So, as Prabhupada points out here in the verse, food for life, not just food for your wife. And it's not crumbs for the bums either. That we're trying to distribute prasadam to people so that they can get a higher taste, especially when people eat prasadam, which is cooked in ghee, Prabhupada said, then they'll give up their taste for meat eating. So nice prasadam, not just ordinary prasadam. We want to distribute prasadam not only to people who poor, but everyone needs prasadam. The rich people are also need prasadam. Otherwise, by their habits, by their killing animals, that they'll wind up poor in their next lifetime. Then if we show people the value of the cow and the bull, then we ourselves will not be so much attracted to modern civilization and to this culture of demoniac civilization, so-called civilization. We won't be caught up in the lies of so-called advancement of society, where they're simply increasing their sinful activities and going further away from the actual purpose of life. But in the meantime, because we're not convinced, for the most part, we don't really want to make the effort. We're living in society, and we find it convenient so far. You can go to the store in the car that you have, and in the store you can get what you want, supposedly. And the electricity is there, the fuel is there, everything's there so far, and therefore why make the effort? If you go into the country and do some farming and protect the cow, so much effort. You have to put the hands in the soil, the dirty soil. You have to milk the cow. You actually have to use your body. Many people have no muscles left. They have no brains left. So they think everything's going to be all right. But that we'll see. Those who are running society to the darkest regions of existence also are not in charge of the modes of material nature. And also they have a plan to eliminate so many people. Because as the resources diminish, because of our sinful activities, Mother Nature restricts the production of essential items, even clean air and clean water, she's restricting. And therefore, the demons who are running everyone to hell, they want to get rid of people because they don't think there'll be enough for their own there won't be enough air for them to breathe, or water for them to drink, or food for them to eat. Therefore, they're busily engaged in poisoning the water even more, poisoning the food even more, poisoning the air even more. Just even here in Ljubljana, there's chemtrails sometimes. They're not full of, roses. They're not spraying roses over Ljubljana. They're spraying deadly chemicals to kill people. So, unless we understand the value of what we're presenting, then we can't even have good Buddhists. People are not even understanding about protection of ahimsa, nonviolence. And they're voidists. What to speak of impersonalists, a real impersonalist, who's actually going to be austere and regulate their consciousness to reach impersonalism. So all we have is very bad materialists and a few people claiming to be Buddhists who are actually, they may be voidists, but they're not going to enter into the void, which is generally considered to be the Vaitarani river. People nowadays are just going to enter into the lowest species of life. Therefore, the only real Buddhists are the Hare Krišna devotees. They can actually appreciate Lord Buddha. Sometimes people ask us if we go on the street, are you Buddhists? In some parts of the world, the Hare Krišna movement has practically disappeared. So when they see people in saffron, in orange robes, they think, oh, they must be Buddhists. And you say, we're Hare Krišna. Hare what? So even if we have, even real Buddhism would be an advancement for modern civilization. Even if people became Buddhists, they'd be advancing. If they became real Buddhists and gave up animal slaughter, then someone can actually preach real impersonalism to them so they can make an effort to actually merge in Brahman rather than in the void. That's why Sankaracharya came, to introduce people, raise their consciousness, so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, they'd be able to appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu more easily, his philosophy. But now that's not there. There's no real good impersonalist. There's no real good materialist. Chandrika Pandit said, the main atheist, said his philosophy was that if you just get ghee and eat it. Even he was into cow protection, the biggest materialist. Beg, borrow, steal, but get ghee and eat it. That's material enjoyment. So there's no good materialists, there are no real Buddhists, there are no impersonalists. Hopefully there'll be some good Hare Krishnas. At least elevate people to the platform of Buddhism. Of course, we want to elevate people to the platform of Krishna consciousness, but by the loud chanting of Hare Krishna, at least people will become vegetarian. If we loudly chant Hare Krishna, open vegetarian restaurants, and serve preparations with nicely made, prepared ghee and all kinds of nice milk products. And therefore, at least we can compete with the vegans. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Is it not an advancement for people to become vegans from animal killers?
Yeah, sure, that's an advancement. It's like, not very healthy. definitely an advancement. But advancement to what? What's the next stage after becoming a vegan? What's that?
Vegan.
Raw vegan. Well, if you're a vegan, well, why are you eating grains or food that's made by tractors, produced with tractors? That you also have to kill the bull. They're also killing the bulls. They're replacing it with tractors. So because you're supporting the produce and the grains that are coming from the field, by which they use tractors to eliminate the bulls. I mean, in order to, because they eliminate the bulls, therefore you're implicit in also bull slaughter. So better just starve yourself to death. Do everyone a favor. That way you won't become implicated in either bull slaughter or cow slaughter. Just eat food which is produced by the bull plowing the field and the cow giving milk and other things. Anyhow, it is some kind of non-violence. It's a kind of non-violence, but it's mostly sentiment. Because so many products in this modern society are made due to animal slaughter. So sometimes you find vegans they have leather shoes, leather belts. The leather didn't fall out of the sky. Anything else? Khala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.